and welcome to our cinema show here on Arts 24. This week, we're at the 75th Berlin Film Festival, or the Berlinale, where our film critic Emma Jones is braving the minus temperatures to bring us the best in new films showing there. Well, Emma, as the festival finishes this weekend, the German elections are taking place, so politics feels like a bit of a backdrop to the event, right?
Yes, it's true. I mean, the Berlinale does have the reputation of being the most politically engaged of all the major festivals, and that really translates into the filmmaking and with audience engagement. And of course, as you say, with the German elections coming up, that has created a certain atmosphere in the city. You know, there has been some demonstrations, but even for the opening ceremony last Thursday, that was really overshadowed as it was on the same day as the attacks in Munich, which killed 2 people. So that really was overshadowing the event. And also, even before the Berlinale started, there had been calls to boycott the festival. Now, the organisation behind this strike, Berlinale, claimed it was because the festival hadn't offered the same unequivocal support to Palestinians in Gaza as they had to Ukrainian and Iranian filmmakers in the past.
But I saw that there is a Palestinian co-production in competition this year, though. It is Yunnan by Amir Fakir Eldin.
Yes, indeed. It is a co-production, and it's the story of how an Arab author travels to Germany and in doing so, manages to get over his trauma and also find a new zest for life. Now, the director, interestingly, lives in Germany. He's of Syrian parentage, and he was actually born in Kyiv in Ukraine. There is also a Ukrainian documentary in competition this year. That's timestamped by Katerina Gonastoy, and without narration, without interviews, she looks into the lives of school children and high school students in Ukraine since the Russian invasion.
OK, well, let's take a look at a bit of timestamp.
Але можна жити далі. В більшості станів, в більшості ситуацій завжди можна жити далі, а потім розібратися.
There are also a couple of films about Israeli hostages here. One is A Letter to David, and that's about the Israeli actor David Cunio, who was taken hostage on October the 7th. Really, you know, it was left to Tilda Swinton to bring the subjects back to cinema on the opening night. Now, she was receiving an honorary Golden Bear from the Berlinale.
And she's never one to hold back, indeed. Well, let's hear what Tilda Swinton had to say.
We can head for the great independent state of cinema and rest there. An unlimited realm, innately inclusive, immune to efforts of occupation, colonization, takeover, ownership, or the development of Riviera property. A borderless realm, and with no policy of exclusion, persecution, or deportation.
Well, strong words there from Tilda Swinton, as usual. Now, one of the biggest stars this year at the festival was Jessica Chastain. I believe she was there with a film called Dreams. Emma, tell us more.
Yes, indeed. Well, this is her second film with Mexican director Michel Franco. Chastain also produced it, and it also stars Isaac Hernandez, who's a Mexican ballet dancer. Now, he plays a dancer who smuggles himself into the US in order to be with Chastain's wealthy heiress character. So he effectively becomes an illegal immigrant. That's quite a timely topic at the moment as well. And at the Berlinale press conference, Jessica Chastain was asked about living in the USA with the new Trump administration and its policies.
¿Qué son los capers?
A la que aparece.
Está bien, yo eso.
No se va a arrepentir. ¿De dónde eres?
Soy chilango, ¿tú?
Yo de Puebla. Pero pues ya llevo unos 20 años acá.
Pues toda la vida.
Sí, es mucho tiempo. ¿Andas visitando?
Acá vivo, estoy dando clases de ballet.
Oh, qué bien.
Sí. Soy Fernando.
Yo, Joaquín.
Mucho gusto, Joaquín.
Igualmente. ¿Gustan algo de tomate?
I'm going to start with the goat cheese salad.
He's actually asking if you want something to drink.
Oh, sorry. No, I'm fine. Didn't mean to interrupt your conversation.
Está bien, gracias.
Ahorita regreso enseguida. Con permiso.
I make my home in the US because I am a hopeful person and I believe that you have to participate to create the environment, the culture, the society that you want. And so I'm not going to give up on my country. So yes, I would like to say there's a lot of us there that are still quite hopeful and we're fighting the good fight.
So Jessica Chastain, one big name at the festival. Who else is in town?
Well, Timothée Chalamet, big enough for you, perhaps. He was here on Valentine's Day itself, you know, which obviously delighted his many fans. This was a last stop, really, on a complete unknown promotional tour. Of course, the film for which he's Oscar nominated for playing a young Bob Dylan. And kudos to Timothée Chalamet for taking off his coat and posing in a T-shirt in these freezing temperatures. Ultimate respect to him. And then, of course, there was Mickey 17. Now, this is the hotly anticipated film by Bong Joon-ho, and his first film after all the success of Parasite. Robert Pattinson stars, so he also brought in the screaming hordes of fans.
I must admit, I'm a bit intrigued about this one. Let's see a bit of Mickey 17 and hear from Bong Joon-ho and Robert Pattinson on working together.
Fellow pioneers, almost every single one of you will be remembered throughout history.
They made me work my ass off, giving me one shitty mission after another.
You're an expendable. You're here to be expended.
Every time I died, they just printed me out again. Everyone asks, what's it feel like to die?
I think there's something quite moving with Mickey where he is trying to process what he is and what he's made out of, but then also at the same time has a kind of relationship with all of his previous selves, and then figure out why he's the one to survive and like why he's worthy of surviving and why the other ones weren't.
The ship was filled with mostly dickheads. But Nasha, she's always loved me. That's when everything changed.
This is a love story, and I've never filmed a love story, a melodramatic film. And to be honest, I want to make films of all genres. That is my life goal. Although I am a bit scared about musicals. And thanks to the two great actors next to me, I was able to film a love story.
So that film's out soon in France. What did you make of it, Emma?
You know, it's really slapstick comedy for Bong Joon-ho. There was a lot of laughter from the Berlinale audience. I think we've seen some of these themes in Mickey 17 in other movies he's made, like Snowpiercer and Okja. It's very commercial, but it's not my favourite Bong Joon-ho film.
OK, well, moving on to two French films in competition at the Berlinale now, and one of them, starring Marion Cotillard, is getting really good reviews.
Yes, indeed. Let me tell you about two of them. One is Harry by Léonore Serret. She got a lot of critical acclaim for the film Jeune Femme a few years ago. Harry has a male protagonist, and he is a 20-something trainee teacher undergoing a bit of an existential crisis. So Serret, yet again, exploring those kind of themes amongst young people. You also mentioned The Ice Tower, starring Marion Cotillard. Now, like Disney's Frozen, this is an adaptation of Hans Christian Andersen's fairy tale, The Snow Queen. There's no relation to Frozen in any other way. Cotillard stars as a Garbo-esque style actress who's also making a film of The Snow Queen. And I very much appreciated its film noir style.
OK, well, let's see a little of The Ice Tower and also hear from Marion Cotillard on her character.
C'est une actrice qui a eu peut-être qui a eu cette heure de gloire.
This actress had her hour of glory. She's perhaps not quite as outstanding as she once was.
Qu'elle le fut, et donc il y a quelque chose qui me.
There is something I found very touching about her. I invented her. I invented a whole host of different stories, rivalries, love stories of actors. I even invented failures and flops. I invented her decline in a sort of sense. And perhaps that was the most important part of the process for me.
C'était peut-être dans la préparation ce qui était le plus important pour moi.
I should also mention a couple of French co-productions in competition here. One is The Safe House by Swiss director Lionel Bayer. It's based on an adaptation of a novel by Christophe Bertinsky. It's set in Paris in 1968 during those student protests. And it's really about a family forced to confront its past in World War II when, let's say, an illustrious guest comes to stay. It's also notable for being one of the last roles that beloved French actor Michel Blanc took on. Of course, he died last year. And then there's another film in competition called Reflection in a Dead Diamond by Belgian filmmakers Hélène Caté and Bruno Forzani. Now, this is an art house look at the 1960s Euro-spy genre.
Okay, well, a very rich, eclectic and diverse selection, as always. Thank you so much for that roundup from Berlin. We'll wrap up the show with the film you just mentioned, Emma, the action mystery thriller Reflections in a Dead Diamond, which takes us to the French Riviera and indeed brings in plenty of vintage spy movie tropes. Otherwise, do join us here next time on Arts 24. You can follow us on social media too. There's more news coming up after this.